You had a plan. You built it carefully. You thought you understood your life. Then everything fell apart. The job, the relationship, the health, the dream. Everything you thought was solid crumbled in your hands. And now you're standing in the rubble asking, why did God let this happen? But what if the destruction wasn't God punishing you? What if it was God building you? I know what losing everything feels like, not theoretically, literally. I lost a marriage I thought was forever. I lost a job I'd built for years. I lost the identity I'd constructed my entire self around. I lost friendships that disappeared when the paycheck stopped. I lost the version of my future I'd carefully planned. I lost the person I thought I was. And for a long time, I believed God had abandoned me, that he'd turned his back, that I'd done something so wrong he couldn't forgive it. But I was wrong about what was happening. We've been taught that loss is God's judgment, that if something bad happens, you must have done something wrong, that God breaks things in your life to punish you. So you spend months, years searching for the sin that caused the loss. You replay every decision, looking for where you went wrong. You imagine that if you can just figure out the mistake, God will restore what was taken. But this belief destroys you from the inside. It turns loss into shame. It turns grief into guilt. It makes you believe you deserve the suffering. And that's a lie. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes God destroys things because they're getting in the way, not because they're sins, because they're obstacles. The comfortable life was keeping you from becoming who you're supposed to be. The secure job was preventing you from pursuing your calling. The false identity was stopping you from becoming real. The relationships that depended on your image would have kept you imprisoned forever. So God didn't break your life to punish you. He broke it to rebuild you. Like a master builder tears down a house that's built on a faulty foundation. The destruction looks like devastation from the inside, but from God's perspective, it's reconstruction. Being rebuilt is agonizing. It's not a gentle process. Reconstruction requires you to come apart completely, to lose the identity you've spent years constructing, to surrender the plans you've spent years perfecting, to release the version of your life you thought was guaranteed. Job went through this. He lost everything: his wealth, his health, his children. His friends told him he'd sinned. They were wrong. He was being rebuilt. Job 42:10 says, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes. But notice, he wasn't restored to what he had before. He was restored to something greater. His loss became the foundation for a deeper understanding of God. What gets built in the rubble? In the rubble of everything you've lost, something new gets built. Character, real character, not the appearance of character. The kind of strength that can't be faked or performed. The kind that only comes through actual suffering. Humility, the kind that comes from being brought low, from losing everything you thought defined you, from discovering that your worth isn't based on your accomplishments. Wisdom, the kind that comes from failure, not success, from learning that God's ways aren't always your ways, that His plan is better than your plan, even when it hurts. Compassion, for other people's suffering, for their losses, because you've been there, you've stood in the rubble too. You know what it feels like, so you can comfort them. But here's what nobody tells you. The time between the loss and the rebuilding is brutal. That's the wilderness. That's when you're in the rubble with no visible way forward. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness. Joshua spent 40 years in exile. Jesus spent 40 days. David spent years running from Saul. These weren't punishments. They were construction periods. Times when God was removing everything false so He could build something real. And the wilderness isn't a mistake. It's essential. You can't build character in comfort. You can't build strength without struggle. You can't build wisdom without failure.
So the wilderness isn't where God abandoned you. It's where God is most actively building you.
The hardest part isn't the loss. It's not being able to see what's being built. If God would just show you the finished product, you could endure. If you could see the purpose in the pain, the suffering would mean something. But He doesn't. He asks you to trust while you're still in the rubble, to believe you're being built when you feel like you're being destroyed. That's faith. That's what the Bible means when it talks about faith. Not blind belief that everything works out, but trust in God's character when you can't see His plan. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what we do not see. That's the wilderness. That's where faith is actually formed. Here's what breaks my heart. So many people go through massive losses and never understand what's happening. They think God abandoned them. They walk away from faith entirely. They never realize they were being rebuilt, that the destruction was the most loving thing God could have done. If God had let you keep that comfortable life, you'd never become who you're meant to be. If He'd protected you from that failure, you'd never learn true humility. If He'd kept you in that toxic relationship, you'd never discover real love. The loss you thought was the worst thing that could happen, it might be the best thing that ever happened. Not eventually, now, right now, in the rubble. In the darkness of loss, something is happening that you can't see yet. Your character is being rebuilt, not restored, rebuilt, stronger, more honest, more real. Your identity is being reconstructed on a new foundation, not on your job or your relationship or your image, but on something that can't be taken away, on who you actually are when everything else is stripped away. Your faith is being deepened, real faith, not borrowed faith, faith that's tested, that survived the fire, that knows God is faithful even when circumstances aren't. That's what's being built in your loss. So how do you actually survive this? How do you keep going? First, stop looking for the sin. You don't have to earn the loss. You don't have to understand why it happened. You just have to accept that it did and that God is present in it. Second, grieve completely. Don't skip the grief, the anger, the sadness, the confusion. Feel it all. That's where the rebuilding begins, in honest grief. Third, look for the new thing being built, not the old thing being restored, something different. What are you learning? How are you changing? Who are you becoming? Fourth, trust the process. Even when it feels like destruction, even when you can't see the building yet, trust that God knows what He's doing. You're in the rubble right now, maybe literally, maybe spiritually. Everything looks like loss, everything feels like failure, but you're not being destroyed, you're being built. The pain is real, the loss is real, and God is using it to create something stronger, something truer, something that actually matters. So stop trying to fix it. Stop trying to go back to the way it was. Open yourself to what's being built instead. Trust that God hasn't abandoned you. He's reconstructing you, and what's being built is better than what was destroyed. Comment below, what have you lost that God is using to build you? Subscribe for the hard conversations about faith when everything falls apart. Say this out loud: I'm not being destroyed, I'm being rebuilt.